was my 40th birthday, and my current boyfriend, Don, wanted me to go out to dinner with him to celebrate. Unbeknownst to me, he had planned a surprise party for me. And he had got a copy of my address book. Back when I was 40, we didn't have cell phones, and you had a little book you kept by your telephone with all your names and phone numbers of all your friends and family, right? So he copied that one day when I didn't know about it and put the book back. He called everyone in that book and invited them to my surprise party for my 40th birthday and told them that they were to come dressed as their suppressed sexual desire. Now, of course, he called the head of the symphony because I was a volunteer there. I was chair of the Austin Commission on the Status of Women, and he called all of them and asked them to come dressed as their suppressed sexual desire. So unbeknownst to me, I opened the door to my house, and I am confronted with 60 people in these god-awful sexual get-ups going, surprise, surprise! It was a surprise, all right. The guy that I was with, Don, quickly ripped off all of his clothes, and underneath he was wearing his costume. He was wearing a Superman costume with a foot-long pantyhose penis going down to his knees from his tights. And I looked to the back of the room, and there was the other guy that I was also dating, and kid you not, he was dressed in a Superman costume, and he had a foot-long pantyhose penis running down the side of his tights. Now, I was a giveaway at this point, right? I was like a deer in the headlights. It seemed like to me, in all of that array of people, that there were two spotlights on these two Superman guys. I had no idea what to do. The second guy, the other guy, kind of knew something was going on because when he arrived, he said, you know, how's Erin getting back to the surprise party? And they said, well, she's gone to dinner with her boyfriend. And of course, he was thinking, I thought I was the boyfriend. So he graciously said that he was going to bow out early and that he would like to talk to me tomorrow and get a little clarity on what was going on. So that was nice. The party went on. It was a great party. And after everyone left, Don and I kind of, you know, cleaned up the kitchen and picked up the drinks and napkins on the floor and all that kind of stuff. We went into my bedroom, we brushed our teeth, we were all set to go to bed. We went to the bed, we pulled back the bedspread, and between the pillowcases was the foot-long penis of the other guy. And my guy, Don, said, well, at least he has a sense of humor. So the next day came, and I had to have conversations with both of those guys. And the conversation went something like this. Number one, thank you for being so nice about it. They were not ugly, they were not hateful. They just said, you know, what's going on? I'd like a little more clarity on what's happening. So I said, well, you know, the deal is we're dating. We're not married. I haven't made any commitment to you in terms of what I'm to do or going to do or anything like that. And I have been married and I made that commitment. I wore that white dress that my mother made me and proudly walked down the aisle as the virgin queen I was, and I stood and said and promised to love, honor, and obey and forsake myself from all others. Now, of course, I found out for me, that was like being in prison. That was not a fit at all for me.
Too many Supermen out there.
Now, the other thing I said is you guys have to take a little responsibility yourself. I didn't make any kind of commitment. If you had expectations, then that's something that you need to look at. And one thing that I started to learn then, and have carried with me all these years, is that expectation minus reality equals disappointment. Expectations minus reality equals disappointment. So everyone said, including these guys, one of these men has to be a giveaway. So we had Don, who had the party for me. He was first in. Is he going to be first last out or first in? Is it going to be like economics? He had been with another relationship before he got into a relationship with me and gave up that relationship. Not that I asked him to, it's something he did on his own. He was charming and delightful, and I thought he was wonderful until the other guy showed up. And I thought he was equally as wonderful, and he was newer on the scene, but I wasn't willing or ready yet to give him up. He was older than I was. He was a filmmaker from New York. He was reckless and full of surprises and creative and fun, and he was mannerly, and he treated me like a queen, and I was totally happy with all that. So what was I going to do? I mean, it's like, why did I have to make a decision? Why did both of these men come into my life at the same time? It just didn't seem fair. The other guy didn't seem like a permanent long-term relationship. Now, I had said I was not ever going to get married again, but, I also know things change. He'd spent a lot of time on casting couches, if you know what I mean, and he lived his life pretty recklessly in comparison to what I did. A lot of people think I'm reckless, but I'm very cautious about my recklessness. He would have big films and things going on, and he would have lots of money. And we'd ride around in limousines, and we'd go to Michelin restaurants, and I'd get presents from Tiffany's in New York, that god-awful jewelry that's not like me at all, but I got it anyway. But then there would be the down times. And he'd have to move out of where he was. He would either not have a car, he'd have a car with dents and the doors barely open, and we always eat at home, like have hamburgers. So I was pretty mad about having to make this decision between these two men because, it made me mad, and it also made me sad at the same time. I spent a lot of time crying about making this decision, and I'm saying, why do I have to make this decision between these two men? The two men at that point, and to this day, have been the two men I've cared most about in my life. So, I liked it how it was. I liked that I could have a, quickie lunch, a date with one, and I could meet the other one for happy hour, and I could have one night and the other another night. I could have romps on the weekends for 3 days with one and then with the other. It was okay with me. I didn't see why I had to make a decision. But I was told that the right thing to do was to give one of them away. What happened was, Don, the first guy, he said, I feel like if you can't make a decision that includes me in a pretty timely manner, that I don't want to be in a threesome, and I don't want to be in that position, and so I became the giveaway. The other guy stayed the course, and every time we went to dinner, no kidding, every time, he would say, "Will you marry me?" And every time, I would say, "No. Let's have some more. Is there more wine?" Whatever. I would just put it away. Then there came the night he said, "You are not going to marry me anytime in the future, are you? Ever?" And I said, "No." So after 9 years of no's to his proposals, he chose to give me away. In the years that followed, I had pretty serial type monogamous relationships. I was had a criteria, and that was I didn't date married men. I didn't date men without a job. I didn't date alcoholics, drug addicts, or people who were chain smokers. I didn't date men who had custody of children, because I'd learned my lesson from the other guy who had the 2 children, and I didn't want to be a mother, and I certainly didn't want to be a stepmom to anyone's kids. And there was also, I had to add to the list, and that was, in addition to kids, was dogs. Because I had this relationship with this guy, and everything was going really great, and we were both really moving along, but I noticed that he would never let me come to his house. I'd say, well, I know, I live in I'll be in that area of town, I'll just come to your house. He'd go, oh, no, I'll meet you at the, no. So I confronted him one time, and I said, you've told me that you're not married, but I want the truth. Why can't I ever come to your house? And he said, because I have 2 dogs. They sleep with me every night. They hate women, and they bite. So that was the end of that relationship. My friend said my standards were too picky, and that's why I didn't have more dates. And of course I had to look at that. It didn't seem so picky to me.